Hey guys, Thingfishy here. So make your character, choose the warrior starting class, and grab a golden seed as the starting gift. And welcome to build guide number 19. So back in December, I made this video, which was a strength build designed to do as much posture damage as possible. To do this, I used Cragblade to buff a great hammer, which dealt the highest posture damage in the game, and bullied some bosses. After that video released, a new patch came in and nerfed that build a little bit. But after I'd done some testing, I discovered the nerf wasn't that bad and said that that setup was still the best build on current patch for posture breaking boss bullying. But if you follow any of these channels, and you should, you will know that there's a new kid on the block when it comes to posture breaking bosses on patch 1.08. And surprisingly, it's fist weapons after they received a buff on this patch. So the goal of this video is to answer a few simple questions. Are great hammers still the best weapons in the game to bully bosses with on a strength build? Can the spiky bonk be beaten by the mini spiky bonk? And if so, are the iron balls and the star fists the best weapons in Elden Ring? So to get set up for this, I followed my standard setup route, linked to the full video and play along in the description, grabbing the golden seeds, sacred tears and smithing stone upgrades. We don't need the sombers for this one. While you're in Limgrave, head to Alexander and help him out of his hole. Then wish him a good day. Then when you're heading through the Mistwood, head to the Minor Erd Tree for the Spike Crack tier. Then across to the Mistwood Ruins for the Axe Talisman. So we pick up the action here at Fort Gale in Caelid. There's two items that we want here. First off, head round to the back of the building to grab Flame Grant Me Strength. Then up the ladder to grab the Star Scourge heirloom from the chest on top. Now head to South Caelid and all the way down towards Castle. Light the Grace by the bridge, then up on top of the rocks nearby to kill this scarab for Cragblade. Cragblade increases both a weapon's physical damage and its posture damage. Now head to Lena's Rise and make it night. Jump onto the side of the bridge to bait the Knight's Cavalry into yeeting himself off. Now stop by the round table to buy a dagger and the finger seal. And next up to the Boil Prawn Shack. Now Bogart dropped one of the weapons that we can use on this run, the iron balls. Now Bogart is actually pretty dangerous, but the reason that we started as warrior is there's a very easy way of killing him. Equip the strength tier and the crack tier to your physic. Golden Vow to your dagger, memorize Flame Grant Me Strength, and equip the Jar Shard to your talisman slot. Do all of your buffs, refill your FP, two-hand your axe, walk up to him and pin him in this corner with wild strikes. So now we have one option for our build, the iron balls. The other option is the Star Fists, but they're in Leyndell, so we can't get them yet. Yep, the Leyndell skip I used on my Bolt of Gransax build still works. So head to the minor Erd tree in Leonia to bully the tree avatar. And already we're starting to see what this run is going to look like. Now head to Weeping Peninsula and south to the Tower of Return and take the teleporter on top. Light the Grace and equip the Ruptured Tear to your physic. Head over to the ledge and onto this invisible bit. Drink your physic and walk off the ledge as soon as your character raises their arm. While falling, time an R1 for the moment you hit the ground. Once again, I'm going to direct you to Riser's channel. He has a really comprehensive guide on how to do this skip, so check that out if you struggle with it. Send the lift back up, then run through Lanedale, up to the tree branches and towards the Colosseum, and all the way round to the left to grab the Star Fists. Both the Star Fists and the Iron Balls do very similar damage on this build. The balls do a little bit more raw damage, but the stars have bleed. For the way that I'll be playing for most of this run, the balls would have actually been a little better, but the stars look cooler and fashion is the most important thing in this game. Now back to Fort Fareth to kill Grail using the bleed grease, popping a pickled Foulfoot as she dies. Then back to the round table to buy all of the smithing stones you need to level the Star Fists to plus 16 using the golden runes you have from the setup. Now it's time for Margit. At the Grace before, equip Star Fist with Crack Blade. The buff process is going to be the same for every fight. Physic, Golden Vow, Flame Gar up your strength, refill your FP, then Crack Blade. So let's get an idea of what these little guys can do. And much like my original video, I forgot to put on the Axe Talisman, so that was harder than it needed to be. I'd love to say I planned that for a fair comparison, but I forgot both times. At least I'm consistent. Speaking of which, now through to Godric. 2 charged attacks will take him to phase 2. And this is what phase 2 looks like even when you stand in the wrong position and miss a whole attack. Now to Rhea Lucaria for Red Wolf. And Red Wolf is a problem for strength builds because it can be really hard to find opportunities for charged. Grab the Stone Sword key on the fountain and then head up to Renala. Hit the first 2 sweetings, then hide behind something and do all of your buffs. Then hit the 3rd and run over to Renala to spam R1. Now, spamming R1 on this weapon is actually insane. The DPS, damage per second if you weren't aware, rivals some of the very best weapons in the game, so this is an easy one cycle. For phase 2, 2 charges will do over half of her health, leaving only a couple of attacks for a very easy Renala. Grab the 3rd talisman pouch from Enya and stick the Star Scourge heirloom in it. Then up to Volcano Manor and through the dungeon to Noble. And this weapon is so perfect for this fight. You can use charged R2s when you have the opportunity, then R1s between his attacks. You'll get a stagger halfway through, and you can almost kill him before phase 2 begins. But not getting it here enabled me to learn that he can get stuck on what is obviously one of Elden Ring's stronger pieces of furniture. Now to Khalid for Radahn, and on my Great Stars build, I was able to get the stagger. And here's what my first attempt with this weapon looked like. Yeah, and if I'd have gone for a chargy after that stagger, it would have been an easy one cycle, but that's the worst case scenario. Now head back to Volcano Manor and through to Rykard. Equip the lance in your right hand, Serpent Hunter in your left, and do crouching L1s for both phases. Now to the Draconic Sentinel before Lane-Dell. Now for this guy, on my Great Stars build, we were very close to being able to stunlock him, but we did need a couple of extra attacks. And with the fists, head through the capital and bully the tree avatar for the Lord's Rune. Then up to Godfrey. Now there's two options for the Godfreys with this build. For the first one, I went for R1s. And they're great for this. You can safely fit 2 between all of his combos, but they're actually fast enough to get more than that in. So unless you're careful with this, it can lead to you getting very, very greedy. Then on to Morgott, and just like any build where you have time limited buffs, he's gonna dance around until they run out. But even if he does, with the kind of posture damage and physical damage we're doing, it really doesn't matter that much. Now head up to the mountaintops of the Giants, ride through the Zamor ruins and into this basement for the Smithing Bell 3. Then across the bridge and up to the freezing Lake Grace. Jump down into the lake to wake this guy up. Now I've basically only ever thought of this dude as an unthreatening tin opener, but he'd certainly had his Weetabix that morning. Bait him into hitting this rock for some smithing stone 7s. Then ride around the lake to the first church of Marika and up the rocks nearby for more 7s. Head back to the round table and level the star fists to +20. Now we're going to head back to Limgrave and into the crater, then down into Nokron. light the ancestral woods grace for later, and head into the aqueduct for the gargoyles. And I don't have much to say here. 4 charged attacks each and they're dead. Now back to the mountaintops for Fire Giant. And instead of showing you the perfect scripted fight here, which I'm certain is possible on this build, I'll instead show you what happens when you just absolutely wing it, mess it up and miss attacks. Because the worst case scenario on this fight with this weapon is still better than most of the weapons in the game. Run through Farum all the way to the Dragon Temple Transept Grace. Now walk back to the Ball Prawn Shack and south into the village of the Albinaurics for any extra mushrooms and Centrina's lilies you need, and grab the first half of the secret medallion. Then head back to the secluded cell in Stormvale to grab the crackpots by the Pot Boys, and finally back to Carlay at the Church of Ella for the 3 crackpots and the crafting kit. Now back to Farum to put the duo to sleep, and this one couldn't be simpler. Charged attacks and ripostes for a trivial Godskin duo fight. Nip back to the Grace by Fire Giant and buy the Dragon Smithing Stone from inside the skull, and back to the round table to level your weapons up to max. Now run through the rest of Farum. Get wrecked by the birds, chuck a sleep pot on the floor instead of healing because you still forget to unequip them, and head up to light the Beside the Great Bridge Grace. Now for the Draconic Sentinel. As usual, this guy is a little more of a problem because of his health. Generally, whatever works for the first one won't work quite as well for the second. So there's no way that we're going to be able to stun lock. Oh, this build. Now for Clergyman and Malekith. And this fight is a little annoying for one specific reason. For some reason, the hitboxes on this weapon just seem off in this fight. So attacks that are usually fine, like our jumping punishes on Beast and charged attacks on Malekith, can miss if you aren't very deliberate with your positioning. For Beast, the safest play is to punish that sweeping attack by getting behind him. Jumping attacks behind him work great too. And on the Great Stars build video, there was a stunlock strat for Malekith, but unfortunately patch 1.08 got rid of that even on Great Stars, so there's no easy stunlock here, but you will definitely get a stagger or two. Just make sure you are standing directly in front of one of his legs when attacking with this weapon, otherwise it could miss. Now head to Caria Manor and up to Loretta. For this fight, the best strategy, speak to Rani and all the boys. Then head back down into the Knight's sacred ground for the Fingerslayer blade. Back to Rani, then next door to Renna's Rise to take the teleporter to Ainsel River. Run through Noxtella and the Lake of Rot all the way to Astor. And just bonk the head, you'll be fine. Now back to Leonia and east to the Carian Study Hall, and all the way up to the top for the Curse Mark of Death. Then back down to Deeproot Depths for the champs. You can one-shot the first one if you time your R2 right, but spamming R1s does the job too. Same again for the second. And then for the trio, I went for Lionel first, then bullied the others. Fortis Axe is a simple one. There's no chance of any staggers due to his ridiculous posture damage negation, but charged R2s or R1 spam on the foot for an easy fight. Now up to Castle Sol for Commander Nile, and I'm just going to let this opening play. For the rest of the fight, you can bait the mini tornado attack, get 1R1, then roll backwards for a safe win, or whip out the buckler and get stuck in with some parries if you like. Ride through the snowfield all the way to Ordner Town. Once again, I'm using Ordner Skip to avoid the puzzle. Jump on this post, line up your compass to the right of this notch, then do 2 jumps with the direction order being 12 o'clock, 7 o'clock. Run through the Helix tree all the way to Loretta. Now Loretta is undoubtedly the most dangerous tree sentinel, but she's still a tree sentinel, so get those charged attacks in and she isn't going to bother you that much. Now I am going to change the order of one boss from my original video, and that's Melania. She was without doubt the hardest fight of both of these runs, and I only did her early in the first one for the memes, so we'll come back to her later. Go grab the Grace by her and pick up the Dragon Crest Great Shield talisman on the way. For some reason my footage for grabbing this was completely corrupted, so I'll link to another video in the description if you don't know where to get that one. Now back to Ordner and ride towards the Mogwin teleporter. Jump onto this ledge to cheese the invader and take the teleporter to Mogwin's palace. Now there's 2 things that absolutely destroy Moog: strength builds and bleed weapons. So I'll just let this one play. Now it's time to head to the best boss ever created and my personal all-time favourite. And to ensure we don't have to bask in his brilliance for too long, head to the Outer Plateau Grace and ride northwest to the Lux Ruins to two-shot the demi-human queen for the Ritual Sword Talisman. This talisman only gives us an extra 10%, but after having to fight this guy straight up on my last two guides, I really didn't want to do it again. Do all your buffs outside, run up behind him and spam charged attacks. I'll be honest, I feel like I got lucky there, but there's no way I'm doing it again. Our damage output for him is so good compared to Great Stars, so this wouldn't be terrible even if things do go wrong. Now, for the first Godfrey, we took an approach that was very safe and very passive. And what we're going to do now is the complete opposite of that. Now for Radagon and Elden Beast. Start off by hitting Radagon with 3 charged attacks, then tank the stomp. Dodge the slam, then 2 charged attacks and a riposte. Now for Elden Beast, I went with my usual approach of getting the stagger with R2s early and then working my way round to the front for a riposte. But watching this back, I kinda wonder if I could have done better damage if I just kept spamming charges. If you try this, let me know. But even if this is suboptimal, he's dead straight after the ring attack with no Elden Stars to worry about. Which for me is as good as an Elden Beast fight gets. So I think you probably get the idea now. So while you watch Placidusax get absolutely annihilated, let's talk about this weapon. The first question is it actually better than my original posture breaking build? Is the best bonk build in Elden Ring actually a fist weapon? And the answer is undoubtedly yes. While it doesn't have the raw posture damage of a Great Hammer, the speed at which you can get charged attacks in more than compensates. I've done plenty of builds in this game where some bosses were trivial whilst others were a little rough. But this is probably the first one where I can't really think of a hard fight in the entire run. So I guess the next logical question is, are these the best weapons in the game? Well, they're really good at posture breaking and bullying bosses. But both my Dragon Maw build and my Wing of Vastal build were better at this. And it has insane DPS if you spam R1. But both Carian Slicer and Catch Flame do a better job. But that's the thing with this weapon. It's one weapon that's 90% as good as the best weapons for both of these things. With every other build in Elden Ring, you have a choice: posture damage or DPS. But both of these fist weapons, the Star Fists and the Iron Balls, allow you to swap from the bonkiest of bonk builds to the most health bar depleting dex build in seconds, depending on what button you press. So undoubtedly, this is the strongest weapon that I've used in the game, and almost certainly the strongest weapon on patch 1.08. And I say patch 1.08 because I will be gobsmacked if these don't get a huge nerf on the next Elden Ring patch. They're just way too strong. So if you want to try this build, I'd do it sooner rather than later. For Melania, I went with my standard parry strategy. In phase 1, you can hit her with 2 charges after a riposte, but for phase 2, it's safer to keep to 1. It's also safe to hit her with charges after her jump attacks or the flower attack in phase 2. And that's it, the most hilariously strong weapon in Elden Ring. If you've made it this far and actually tried this build, please let me know how you got on in the comments. If you've enjoyed this video, give it a like and subscribe to my channel for more Elden Ring build guides. As always, thanks for watching. See you soon.